What is up, guys? Welcome to Loveshack Entertainment, and today we're going to be making a video for you because that is what we do here at Loveshack Entertainment. We make videos. We are on YouTube. We make videos. That's what we do. And today we're going to do another deck analysis video. So we did one before for Speedroids, and people seem to like it quite a bit. The only difference really between deck analysis and deck profile, whatever, is that really we go a little bit more in depth and focus more so on like the main deck and plays than we do with the other stuff. But I will go ahead and touch quickly on the main deck and side deck. On the extra deck and side deck rather, towards the end of the video. But again, even though I want to go more in depth, I'd like to keep it from being like a 40-minute endeavor because nobody really wants to watch that. So let's go right ahead and jump into this. And today we are bringing you a deck profile we have not done before. That would be PSY-Frame. Seems like the deck that's kind of everybody's all amped about it right now and all that stuff. So let's see what we can do with our own little spin on it. And hopefully you guys will enjoy the video and encourage leave a comment, anything like that down below. Thank you. Awesome. So let's get started. We start with 3 PSYFrame drivers. This is a normal monster. A lot of people call it kind of like the backbone of the deck, and it sucks to have to play triple, especially because it's a normal monster, but it's really what's necessary for all of your plays to be able to go off. And if you don't have any of this guy left, then you can't win. Literally, you can't win because your monsters are useless. So, 3 copies of him. He's able to be brought out by every other PSYFrame, and that's essentially what the deck's objective is. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. Triple PSYFrame Gear Beta. So this is, in my opinion, probably the best one, although some may disagree. When your opponent declares an attack, special summon it from your hand and a PSYFrame driver, and then you destroy the attacking monster and end the battle phase. So that's really strong, especially because it's a tuner, and in conjunction with the field spell, where you're able to synchro summon immediately afterwards, you get a pop, and you can put some strong monsters on the field in the process. We'll talk a little bit more about that, too, in a bit. Triple Gamma. I've experimented with 2, but it seems like 3, rather. I'm all over the place today. Is definitely the better number. Now, Gamma special summons himself and a PSYFrame driver in response to the activation of an opponent's spell card. So you negate the spell and then destroy it, and this is actually... I'm sorry. Wow, guys, I apologize. I'm literally all over the place today. Gamma negates monster effects. I literally am not drunk or anything at the time of making this video. I'm just stupid. So, let's try that one more time. Gamma negates effects of monsters that activate anywhere. You special summon him from your hand and PSYFrame driver, then you negate the effect and destroy it. So, it can literally get around Max C, it can get around Necros, stuff that activates, things like that. And of course, because it's a 2 and PSYFrame's a 6, you can synchro into Omega, Stardust Dragon, things like that. Makes it a really potent card and one that you can use more than anything else. The reason I prefer him at 3 is because against the majority of decks, he's more useful at 3, including decks like Cosmo, Necros, etc. But you could always side out a copy if you had to, if you're playing against more trap-heavy lineups for stuff like Epsilon. Triple Wind-Up Rabbit. So when the deck was first put together, when they first started experimenting with the PSYFrame deck, I believe it was a gentleman who won some side event at YCS Dallas with it. He did not play this, but they also realized you had no way to really put damage on board. So Wind Up Rabbit's a 1400 beater that can swing for damage, but it can then banish itself because all the PSYFrame monsters require you to have no monsters on the field in order for you to use their effects. That's why Rabbit's so good, because you can swing for 14 and you can dodge stuff like Mirror Force, Torrential, etc., all while not affecting your plays. That's why. Triple Delta. Now, Delta is the one that negates spells, so we actually got that right this time. So your opponent activates a spell, you special summon Delta, you special summon Driver, you negate the spell, and then if you have your field spell out, you can instantly make a level 8, which is what makes it, obviously, I mean, why would you not play 3? Every deck plays spells. A lot of decks play heavy numbers of spells. The ability to negate it and get over it is just too strong to pass up. And then 3 Alpha. Now, Alpha does not negate. However, when your opponent normal summons or special summons a monster while you control no monsters, you special him and you special Driver. And then once you do that, you can add any PSYFrame card from your deck to your hand. So this can search your field spell, can search another PSYFrame, or it can search Overload, which is the trap that really makes the deck as strong as it is, which we will talk about in a minute. So Alpha's a 3 of as well. And of course, they're all tuners, so they all allow you to synchro. Triple Card D, and I think this is one of those decks that really maximizes Card D's potential because you get the draw power and your plays really take place during the opponent's turn anyway, but he clears himself from the field. So you get the +1, you don't have to worry about him lingering around in the field. Of course, if they Veiler it or break through it or whatever, that's going to hurt you substantially because now he's sitting there and he's useless. However, most of the time that does not happen, and you have the ability to prevent those things from going off. Card D, really good draw power and speeds up the deck significantly. Another level 2 Earth that does that as well would be Max C. Arguably one of the better cards of the format right now, although the format clearly needs to change because it's become increasingly stale with the lack of a ban list. But Max C is draw power and at least a 1-for-1, but almost always ends up being at least a +1. So really good, really draws and gets your PSY-Frames into your hand as quickly as possible. And then the 1 Epsilon. So the 1 Epsilon is a trap negator, but just I feel like traps don't see that much play right now. And when they do, I mean, you're going to have monsters on the field most of the time when your opponent activates a trap. Stuff like Torrential, Mirror Force, etc. is not going to go off if you don't have monsters out. So Epsilon's going to be useless most of the time. However, it's good in response to things like Mind Crush and other traps that maybe will spring out of nowhere. And I can't think of anything specifically off the top of my head, but say like Macrocosmos or something. Vanity's Emptiness. You know, that's a good way to get over Emptiness for the deck. One of the few ways that we have to do it. But other than that, it's not really worth playing at multiples in the main deck. Although I do believe as a side card, it's definitely viable. So let's jump to spells. Triple PSY-Frame Circuits. It's a field spell. Some decks play this at 2 with Terraforming. I've seen that around. I personally think it's better at 3 just because of the importance of drawing it. So how it works is if a PSY-Frame monster is normal, special summon to your side of the field, you can immediately Synchro Summon. So what that means is when you use one of these PSY-Frame effects and you bring out Driver, if Circuit's out, you can immediately perform a Synchro Summon during your opponent's turn. Because one of the drawbacks of this is the fact that during the end of the turn, the monsters summoned by a PSY-Frame effect are banished. So of course, if you don't get a chance to Synchro with them, they vanish, and once you lose your Drivers, your deck can't really make any plays. Circuit allows you to kind of get over that restriction and also be able to put a Synchro monster on the field during your opponent's turn. And we'll take a look at the Synchros in a minute and really show why that's so powerful for an effect. And then, of course, this one, which you don't use much, but at the start of the damage step, if a PSY-Frame monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can discard a PSY-Frame. That monster gains attack equal to the discarded monster attack for the rest of the turn. So, in a rare instance where like your Omega or your Zeta might be run over by something and you can't clear it off the field for some reason, like a normal summon Forerunner or Towers or something, I don't know, you can then discard one of your PSY-Frames from the hand in order to be able to really do some damage and protect it. And once you do that, I mean, it's pretty hard for your opponent to get over it. So triple Psychic Field Zone. I apologize, I am proxying the third one right now. It has not come in the mail yet. Psychic Field Zone is a card from Extreme Big to you. Some of you may remember. Select 2 of your move for play monsters that are Psychic. So 1 Psychic Tuner, 1 Psychic Non-Tuner. Return them to the graveyard and then Synchro Summon 1 monster from your next strike face-up defense position, a Psychic type whose level equals the total levels of the return monster. So basically what this does is in the instance that you do summon these and you can't Synchro because you don't have the field spell out or whatever, so Field Zone puts them back in your grave so you can use it again and gives you a Synchro monster at the same time. So it's 2 positives at the same time, and really allows you to utilize Driver if your hands are bad early on. 2 MST. Some decks don't play it at all, but again, Vanity's Emptiness, Mind Drain specifically hurts this deck a lot because your effects can't activate in hand. Just the ability to get over stuff is really important, so MST is one of those things that it's more worth it to have than not. 2 Pot of Duality. I kind of think I want to bump it up to 3, but it's just space right now, and we're trying to toy around with some things. But Duality doesn't really hurt you much at all because you're never really summoning during your turn, except in rare instances. So it just gives you an extra card, increases your consistency, and makes it easier to get the plays that you need set up. And then for spells, just 1 Regeki. Good field clearer. I mean, if your opponent does manage to kind of bypass your stuff and stall for a while, you have the Regeki as a way to, kind of bounce back. And then we go to traps. So there's 3 PSY-Frame overloads. This is basically one of the best cards that I've seen in a while, at least as far as archetype-specific cards go. So once per turn, you can banish 1 PSY-Frame monster from your hand or face up on your side of the field. Target 1 card on the field, banish it face down. During any player's turn, except turn this card was sent to the graveyard, banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 PSY-Frame card from your deck to your hand. So this is ridiculous, really. What this means is you banish card face down, it's out of the game. You can't use it anymore. And that's honestly what makes it so strong, because of the fact that you're able to just basically disrupt all of your opponent's plays. And it's insane. It's really strong, really useful, and if they do MST it or get it engraved, you can then banish it to search for any PSY-Frame deck, including, I believe Alpha, which can then search another copy of Overload. And then 2 breakthrough skills. So this is something I've been toying around with, and it's just to get over the effect negation that Gamma maybe isn't able to, and it's pretty potent, honestly. Most of the time it goes off easily, but it would be one of the first things that I looked at dropping if I had to make some cuts, which, who knows, with more playtesting, I may end up having to do that. And as far as the deck itself goes, I mean, I know it looks like it's very monster heavy, and that obviously because it is, but so many of your monsters act like hand traps that it's not like you're playing a loaded deck with monsters. Most of the time you don't really need the Stealth Traps because your PSY-Frames can do the trick on their own. other than that, I mean, the hands can clog sometimes for sure. There's definitely instances where, like, I've drawn into, like, multiple drivers. It seems like anytime you play a deck with multiple normal monsters, you're more prone to draw into them just because of what, you know, one would consider bad luck. And, you know, there's the betas, gammas, just strong opening. But one of the best ways to open up is honestly just to start with card D or max C, and then just be able to go from there. And really, you know, your first turn plays are going to be so minimal because most of the time you're just going to set something in pass and let your opponent go. You need to be able to react to your opponent's plays. So if your opponent's playing a deck that can kind of just stall and not do anything, then you have issues. And that's part of the reason I thought cards like Final Countdown might be worth taking a look at, because at least Final Countdown can either force your opponent to play the game, and if they don't, then they lose within, you know, 10 of their turns. So that's part of what makes it so strong, because you know, your opponent really has no choice but to play, at which point your deck is able to shine. So let's take a quick look at the extra deck. This is incomplete at the moment, but 2 Omega, PSYFrame Lord Omega is a secret rare and high-speed rider. It is a really, really good card, even outside of the deck. Once per turn during either player's main phase, you can banish this card from the field and 1 random card from your opponent's hand face up until your next standby phase. This is so annoying to play against, especially because you really just, like, if you're waiting on that one card or you're waiting on getting a draw so you can actually make plays, Omega's like, nope, banishes and disrupts it. And if for some reason they do have multiple copies of Omega out, they can rip multiple cards from your hand. And if Omega is on the field during your opponent's standby phase, you can target 1 banished card and return it to the graveyard. So another just really potent play, and the ability to keep your combos going, especially with Zeta. Zeta's the level 7. You can banish Zeta and a face-up special summon attack position monster your opponent controls, which, again, Xyz, Synchros, things like that. Really disruptive, especially decks like Necros and whatnot. Unless you have that Trish to stop the targeting, then you really can't do too much. And they're really just powerful for what they are because of how easy they are to summon. And then these are just some random extra deck monsters, which I hardly ever go into, but they're there. And when the deck is completely done, we'll make this a complete extra deck and drop stuff like Red Dragon Archfiend and play, you know, Thought Ruler and other Psychic-type monsters. This is just sort of like, for now, I wanted to just have a little something to put out there. And as far as the side deck goes, it's kind of under construction at the moment, but I'll show you, for those of you that are just curious about maybe where to start. So, Triple Royal Decree. The deck only plays 5 traps, and as important as Overload is, this is obviously only going to be useful against matchups where, you know, counter to Imperial Iron Wall, things like that, because Overload's not really going to do much over Iron Wall if Iron Wall is activated first. So, one of the things that really is useful is, you know, trap-heavy matchups to have this, because if it hurts your opponent, they're going to MST it. By the time they get it off the field, you can then make your Overload live. These 2 Light Imprisoning Mirrors are actually supposed to be Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors, which I just didn't have on hand at the moment, so I wanted to put something there. Obviously, Light Imprisoning Mirror hurts your deck, so you don't want to play it. But basically, yeah, Shadow Imprisoning, stop the dark matchups and things like that. More so than anything else, I guess, BA, but it does have uses against other decks. And then the one can't speak today, 1 MST, just to go along with the 2 we have in the main deck for the instances in which we side them in. Triple Shared Ride for the Necros matchup, which, who knows, once we get a new list, which seems completely unlikely, but who knows, may actually not be as good as it was before, but we'll see what happens. And then the 1 Vanity's Emptiness. This doesn't really help you much, but if you use it as a one-off kind of thing, it certainly isn't too bad. And then 2 Denko Sekka. So PSYFrame is a difficult side matchup because a lot of times you're not going to want to keep monsters on board at all, which is why Denko is like, well, this is going to hurt me. But if you manage to get out an Omega and then you can summon a Denko, you basically can stop your opponent from doing anything and really secure your ability to win the game. So it's all about being smart with your plays and making sure you can maximize the, you know, the field potential and the advantage that the deck can generate, while at the same time not screwing yourself over and not being able to use the effects. So, yeah, that's basically to wrap it up this video. I apologize, I did ramble a little bit late as I'm filming this, and I was just trying to get this done because I've been meaning to do this video for a little while. Haven't had a chance to do it yet. So, yes, this is the PSYFrame deck profile, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, etc., feel free to drop a comment down below, and I will see you next time right here at Loveshack Entertainment.